we're going to address something that is of extreme importance to all consumers of food products. I say that because it is important that the safety of the manufacturing process is addressed on everything and for everything that we purchase when we walk into a supermarket, restaurant, or outdoor proceeding. And this afternoon, my special guest is Miss Marva Hewitt.
Okay.
Now, let me say that in the United States, they have a very high standard when it comes to manufacturing of food products. I say that because on many occasions we see what we classify as recall of products from shelves, and they might be listing different things like salmonella or listeria or something that sometimes the public is not even conscious of when they hear the names. But in the background, it is always being addressed by USDA, FDA, and other organizations that are structured to protect the public. Down in the islands and in other countries, in order for you to be able to export products to the United States, these conditions have to be met. Now you are being involved or are involved with this industry. Tell me, Miss Marva, when did you start in this process of being a protector of our community?
Right. So, in about 40 years ago.
Okay.
Yes, 40 years ago, I was a nurse at the age of I went in as a cadet nurse, yeah, in the nursing school in England. And then at the age of 17 and a half, I went fully into nursing. I became a registered nurse by the age of 21. And got married and went into family life and all that, and then decided that, it wasn't suiting me because my routine had to be different, yeah. Because I then had a child and so forth. And so I went into environmental health. And having studied that, my first degree in environmental health at Greenwich University in the UK, covering aspects of pollution, all the different laws, and I gravitated to food safety because I just wanted to preserve life. I wanted to, whereas with nursing, you sort of at the back end where person's already sick, right? They're already sick. They're just you're just offering care, right? But you can't protect them. I gravitated to food safety because I wanted to help in the forefront. I wanted to do prevention, so I wanted to educate. So I gravitated to that and stuck with that. Did my master's in food safety and quality, and then later on did all the the HACCP and so forth, but went on to my doctorate in food safety, and yeah. So that's the breadth of my career. I'm really a practitioner in my own right. I came to Jamaica, migrated. Well, I've always been in Jamaica, in and out, because that's my heart. I love this country. I love it so much. I did leave it at 14 years old, at the age of 14, and I've always come back to Jamaica. I had my home here, in and out. I had my business here, set up my business in 1999. Worked in public health here for a year. So understood the system and decided it wasn't for me. So I joined Red Stripe, heading food safety and occupational health and safety. And, there was when I started, I branched out after about 8 years there. I branched out into my own business, which is Food Hygiene Bureau, which is the business now. And again, specializing in food safety, in quality, in education for corporate industry, because I felt that the greatest thing you can do is educate the mind, is create that change, that wow, I didn't know. And so I can now go back. And all our customers are like that. So it says, wow, I didn't know. I'm now going back to apply, right? So the change is in the mind. And once they start understanding the impact and the importance of their business based on education of their workers, you find that there's a change in that industry. You can always tell the industry that has no change, that have not invested in the people, because it is the people that will make the difference to your business.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right? So we find that we do the full spectrum. We do auditing, inspections. We help to set up businesses, new businesses. We give advice. We guide them. We do training with them. We partner with international companies such as in the UK, HABC, which is Highfield Awarding Body. We partner with RSPH. We partner with the FDA to offer the training and the certificates that is necessary for our exporters and also for our hotels. Yeah. So that is what we do. We also offer conferences. We educate. It's all about education. All
Yes.
about education. I'm big on that because I really believe in the mind and the culture that we need to change, the cultural change that needs to happen in the industry, right? Unfortunately, here we don't seem to have the enforcement to go hand in hand, So you might do some training, but then there's nobody following up with that apart from the internal. The enforcement is not there. And you see it at all different levels, right? You see it at different
Yes.
levels, right? So that's what we do. And we've been hosting conferences big as a part of education. We host webinars, seminars, symposiums, right? And training, right? And basically award international certification through the overseas bodies that we partner with. And we have been doing this since 1999.
Now, how effective is this information when it is identified with manufacturing company or with manufacturing companies? How effective is this collaboration in attracting buyers and distributors of the products manufactured by those companies?
Right. So what happened is that the brokers when they're pressured is when we get contacted. So you may have a broker in the States who are buying products and the products have failed, and therefore they pressure the company here. The company will contact us, and that will spiral, that will sort of drive, it will sort of say to them, hey, you need to, whether it's training they need to do, whether it's an audit they need, whether it's a report that they need, right, to issue back to the broker to satisfy the FDA. Because remember, it's a push all the way, right? So when the broker is pressured by FDA, he serves a notice, right? He serve a notice. He then have to come to his suppliers. The suppliers may be in the Caribbean, right?
Yes.
The supplier then have to find ways of complying with whatever the broker need in order to keep that market. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
how it goes. So we usually kick in at that stage, right? When they're under pressure. But it's not proactive. It's not proactive driven. The only proactivity that happens is for new plants when they're setting up and they may go on a trade show to a trade
Yes.
show, and they may hit some customers and the customer says, oh, you need to be certified, or you need some, you need to provide us with evidence of traceability for your product. You need to provide evidence that you're managing your systems. And so again, that will prompt them to come. But otherwise, they'll be trading and they get they get passed by, the agencies at the local level, and then they continue trading until they bump into a good market, and then they started thinking we need to do something.
So you come in at that point as a problem solver.
Yes, that's right.
So
That's correct.
But the
That's
bottom,
correct. But there are some, no, but you know what happens? Our customers, because we train their people, because we have helped them,
mhm,
they usually come, they usually automatically, because they know now, you see, they now
yes,
know. So you find that they'll come for advice, they'll want an audit done. You know, we have customers like that that always, you know, they'll call and said, hey, Marva, you know, have our people for training. Can you do our training? What date you have? Can you come and do an audit for us? You know, can you do a report for us? You know, they'll tap into the system
mhm,
willingly,
yes.
right? Of their own accord because they now have knowledge. Yeah,
Mhm,
they now know what they need to do. So a lot of it is them not being pressured or them not knowing, right? But there's no automatic thing. If you look at the UK, for example, I have great knowledge of the UK because I've worked there for years in the system. I've worked at different levels. I've worked for the authorities, which is the enforcement. I've worked, you know, for myself, and I've worked for agencies as consultants, you know, with manufacturing, catering, retail, across the spectrum. Um, and it's different. It's different because there's a registration process. Before you can open a business, we have to give the go ahead. You
mhm.
have to get that, you know, that red light because we do a scoring system. And depend on where you're scoring, you may not have anything to comply with, you know, no outstanding, and it may be a straight go. Otherwise, there may be some areas of improvement, and you have to meet those, right? Depends how serious they are. Some of them are infrastructure. You have to fix those before you can open, and so forth. So it's a more proactive system. It's a proactive way, right? Again, with regards to follow-ups, you give a notice to follow up or you give a report to follow up and you do follow up. That follow-up does take place and you have to close them out. So the compliance is there. But you know, here it's very relaxed. It's a relaxed system.
So the economical impact um on the country of us, especially in the food industry,
Mhm.
can grow exponentially by educating
That's right.
food manufacturers.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And it's not just that, you know, it's the small caterers. It's the small caterers. You see them all over the place, and they're doing awesome work because they're making a living. They're
Yes.
making a living. But the point is that it's not structured in a way that they have any sort of, they may go and get a food handler's permit, for example,
Uh-huh.
but and that permit only cover them, you know, at a lower level. Next thing you
Yes.
know, they're serving all sorts of fantastic food. Yeah, the catering for events that, you know, offers weddings and parties and all sorts, right? There's no, that structure is not there. Yeah.
Okay.
So
We-
so then, and there's nothing forcing them to do the training, right?
Uh-huh.
Yes. So that piece now that should happen at a higher level and create their HACCP system and, you know, their documentation and, you know, the whole thing is just not there because they're actually making a living quite nicely without being, you know, without having that second tier. Whereas in the UK, it's a hand-on-hand thing, you know, you have, from day one, you have to have your food safety management system. You must have that, right? You must have that because we audit against that every time we go there, whether it's 6 months, a year, 18 months, depend on on your, you know, the risk that we find, right? Will determine the frequency. Yeah. And each time we go, we are auditing their records against the practices.
In the US, there's food inspectors are consistently visiting
That's right.
restaurants.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay. And
Hmm.
and we also find that one of the limitations is that hotels, for example, when they're having events, if you want to get something from a local restaurant, you're prohibited
Hmm.
because they might not satisfy the high classification levels
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
that the insurance of the hotel
Hmm.
requires
Hmm.
as a manufacturer. Okay.
Hmm.
So we have always been concerned that third world countries, small business do not scale as much as
Yeah.
they should.
That's right. Yes, but that's
Because,
because they're left out of the loop, though. That's
yes,
because they're left out of the loop because nobody asked the question, where else, what else do you do? You see, you have to ask the question, So what else do you do? Because they may well cater for weddings, but they may not voluntarily tell you, right?
Yes.
They may not voluntarily tell you that they cater for christenings, events. For example, you have these festivals and all sorts, and I always wonder who manage these food? Where are the food coming from, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Because of
Yes.
the whole storage condition, you look and you see that they're storing them in bags and they're storing them in boxes, and this food is supposed to be chilled food, right? But
Uh-huh.
nobody have gone after they sign up and says, yes, we are going to be doing X, Y, and Z. Nobody's gone back. It doesn't appear that way anyway,
Yes.
that anybody's gone back and, say, okay, what temperature, where's the food, where these chickens came from, where were they cooked? What temperature are they? And check them, right? Check the temperature. Do you have a thermometer? Where's the records from this morning? These chickens are cooked. What time did you cook them? Where did you store them? Where were they prepared? What's the holding condition? There's no cooler, right? They're just there, probably on a jerk pan, being heated up or whatever they're doing, right? Sometimes they're in server pans covered over, and they just serve from that. Chopping boards, again, having water systems in those tents that have got hot food or have got high risk food, what we
Uh-huh.
call high risk food, right? No hand wash basin, yeah.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
no running water.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I don't want to talk about, the public events because they're obvious, you know.
No gloves, no mask,
No, nothing.
and
No, nothing.
and sometimes you
And
say
nowhere to wash the utensils.
and no expiration date on the food
And
that they
no,
provide that they cook on a daily basis.
no. Well,
Uh,
nobody's checking.
because we know
Nobody.
that, for example, when it comes to some of the major chains like a McDonald's or Burger King, after a hamburger sits there for a certain amount of time, it
Mhm.
has to be discarded.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
that's
Uh,
correct.
and
Because there's
and
a
and
holding
and
time
and, and,
for it.
and yes, you might find that small business, you know, are impacted when they look at what they classify as throwaway or waste.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And but at the same time, it inhibits their growth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I
Mm-hmm.
remember years ago, I was we were marketing cocktail patties, which are very delicate in producing.
Right,
And I was speaking to a gentleman who had a restaurant, and he says, "Oh, we make our own."
right.
I said, "Okay." I said, "On average, how many do you?" "Oh, maybe 200, 300 this on the catering event."
Wow,
I said,
wow.
"Okay, so what if I was telling you that I needed 3,000? What you do
Mm-hmm.
do?" And he paused, and he said, "I need to start getting them from a manufacturing company."
Right.
Because at that time he could place an order for 3,000 and have it delivered the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But if he
Yes.
started making them on Sunday morning, Monday would still be working on the 3,000.
That's right. That's right. Yes, because they don't have the
The
infrastructure to
capacity.
scale up. They just don't have it. They don't have
Yes,
the
the
capacity.
capacity.
Yeah,
And I say this because this is the story that is facing many of our small businesses in Jamaica, why they cannot get huge contracts
mm-hmm.
because they might
Mm-hmm.
not be attached to huge, large manufacturing
Yes,
companies
yes.
where they can be are able to get a good catering contract for
Mm-hmm.
1,000 persons and not
Mm-hmm.
worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so your organization is involved in the process of education
That's right.
and
That's
and
right.
and, and in the
Education and certification.
and
Yes,
certification. Now,
yes,
are you also setting up as a database or setting up a database for the people you train or for the people who are
yes,
registered?
yes, we do. We
Okay,
we set up a database for our clients. And
okay.
and for new persons, that comes our way. We do have all of them in a database. And
What?
so we send out on a consistent basis new training courses and so forth. We
Okay,
also we also do we're also training partners for ISO
okay.
certification, right, in the
Uh-huh.
region. And so we offer those e-learning courses and so forth, where persons can take their time up to a year to finish their courses. It's sort of work with them, right?
Yes.
So we offer those as well.
Well,
Yes.
I am glad that that database is being established
Okay.
because it gives us a chance to maybe market those companies who are qualified for exports.
That's right. Yes.
Okay,
Yes. Yes.
because I know that on occasion, for example, when it comes to hockey coming out of Jamaica, we understand that while they might have 5 companies that are canning hockey, only 2 qualify to export product.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And just about 8 months ago, we had some restrictions that were being placed on imported products or export products being exported from Jamaica into the United States without a clarification as to why. Okay. And so we complain when it happens and blame it on the politics. Okay. Just like we blame the travel advisory on the politics.
You're
Okay.
freezing, It's like,
But so it is reassuring, that we can be telling our people that if they want to import things from Jamaica, these companies qualifies.
yes. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'll tell you on many occasions they hesitate. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
And listen, they might be getting things from China. I had one company that was looking to do callaloo patties. Why that started, and then they said that the supply could not keep up
Okay. Well,
because
that's a problem here, That's a problem here because there's no consistency. We just don't
well,
produce enough.
I'm saying that to get to your next level, which is
Yeah.
food security.
That's right. That's
Okay,
right. Yes.
that is being able to feed
Ourselves.
ourselves
Yes.
before we
Plus
export.
export. Exactly. And that's really important.
Yes,
That is really important.
you
Right?
know, I mean, I remember after Hurricane Beryl, I spoke to Minister Floyd Green, on the radio in New York City, because, on our programs that we do, address certain issues as it comes up. And we were a little bit alarmed that even as the hurricane might have come through and done some damage to the local food supply, it really
It wiped it
challenged
out.
the export
Wiped it
food
out.
supply.
Yes. It wiped it
Okay.
out.
And so that part of our process has never been publicly addressed or to our public, not only in the US, but across the platforms where people look at the Jamaican brand as being such a strong brand that everyone wants a little piece of Jamaica. Not just the music, not just the tourism,
Yeah.
not just the sports, but anything that says Jamaica, brand Jamaica is welcomed, okay? As long as it can leave the island safely.
That's right. That's right. That is correct. That is correct. That is correct. And
So,
that's the challenge that we have, right? That's
yes.
the challenge. And it starts from the beginning where we need to educate ourselves. Our people doesn't like to read and so forth, right? So you see labeling and all that. They go in the supermarket, they just pick up the cheapest thing, what they can afford. Can't blame them. Can't blame them, Trevor, because it's what they can afford, right? Because
Yes.
the prices are so high, right? A loaf of bread is probably nearly $1,000 by now because the little short
Woo.
one that I buy is $750, and I only buy a short one, right? Because I don't like a lot of bread, so I'll buy
Yeah.
a little brown bread, a little short bread. But yeah, that's $750. Now,
Uh-huh.
when you look at the processed food versus the fresh food, that's another challenge that you have, right?
Yes.
Because you may buy a full meal at Kentucky, right? Or Burger King, and
Uh-huh.
it's $750 or
Mm-hmm.
it's $800. You cannot buy a hand of green bananas, right? And a piece of yam for that. Yeah?
Oh.
You can't.
Oh.
I went to my birth town not so long ago, and I was talking to a lady, and she was, diagnosed with diabetes, and that's very trending here.
Uh-huh.
And I said to her, "Oh, you mustn't eat too much of the rice and all." She says, "But Dr. Hewitt, what me fi eat? What me fi eat? The doctor tell me that, but guess what? we can't get the banana. We
Oh my.
can't get it. Yes, and that's what she told me, and that's in the country, that's in a rural um agriculture parish, right?
Yeah.
It's a rural agriculture parish. Very, that's all they do there is plant. Yeah, and she's telling
Yes.
me that there's no banana, she can't get it, and where she can get it is very expensive. And I know that because I bought just one hand the other day for $780.
$780 for banana.
780 for one hand of banana, right? And it don't have many fingers on it, probably 12. That's it.
I, and I don't want to hold the government responsible, even though they have the responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because it covers every industry in the island that
That's
is
right.
in need. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the bottom line is that we find ourselves importing products that we grow,
That's right. That's it.
where the imported products are cheaper than the ones we're growing in Jamaica.
That's correct. That's correct. How does that happen though? I always ask myself how that happened. You know, you have the lettuce, you have the broccoli, you have the
Uh-huh.
onions, right?
Uh-huh.
You have the spinach. Oh my
Uh-huh.
gosh, spinach, a little how many
Bundle.
ounces of spinach,
Uh-huh.
right? Is over $1,000, you know.
Oh my.
You cannot buy spinach, right?
Oh
You
my.
can't buy oranges. You can, the citruses have literally, I mean, you can't get it. When you get it, you're paying $2,000 for 12 oranges.
So beyond the food shortage business, we are looking at a nutrition problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've always had elements of it, right? Because we eat a lot of, if we're gonna eat gungo soup, we eat a lot of gungo soup, right? And it's
Yes.
starch. Yeah.
Yes.
So we've always been like that. If we're gonna eat rice, we eat a whole pot of, go to a supermarket and they fill up the container with rice, right?
Yes.
There's
Yes.
no greens on it.
Well,
And the meat, the rice and the meat. And
and
uh
it,
and there's no greens, right? So we've always had a nutrition problem because the NCDs are trending among us, right?
uh,
78% of our people is affected with that, right? With
uh,
diabetes and and those cardiovasculars and those type of diseases.
yes.
And their diet really, they have been linked with diets, right? And lifestyle. Okay. So, we have a long way to go with our people in terms of the education and
Uh-huh.
also in terms of our food supply chain, which is being replaced gradually with different types of hybrid foods and different types
Yes.
of, and we don't know where it's going to end. We don't know.
Okay. Well, you're supposed to be having a training program that is coming up very shortly. And I'll
Yes.
say this, that that training program is not only needed for people in Jamaica where you are, I
Mm-hmm.
would say it is also needed for our small business, especially our restaurants over here.
It is.
Because
It
I will
is.
tell you that when you talk about the amount of starch that you will get when you order your food, yes, you'll get 80% rice,
Mm-hmm.
20% protein in the form
That's
of any
right.
meat item, and they will ask you if you want any vegetables.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you want any vegetables? Okay. And they will put a little spoon of cabbage on a corner and maybe a little callaloo. And
Mm-hmm.
and typically I will say this, the restaurants do not serve a fresh salad
There you go.
when you
Yeah.
order a meal, unless you go to a sit-down restaurant where
Mm-hmm.
you can say you're gonna have a three-course meal.
Right.
So the
Yes.
same cultural ineptness that we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about in
Mm-hmm.
Jamaica,
Mm-hmm.
it
It's
is
right there.
translated to the
Yes.
United
Yes.
States, okay?
Yes.
Where they're
Yes.
performing like they're doing a restaurant in Jamaica.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Therefore, your training program should not only be limited in its scope to where you are.
Right.
It's something that should be available in a webinar setting or
Yes.
some
Yes.
setting to
Yes.
educate our people across our
Right.
diaspora.
Right. And this is why we're having the international conference. One of the things that I did when I first came to Jamaica was to start educate. I started the HACCP training seminars with the health inspectors. I was the first person that did that, and they were
Uh-huh.
welcoming it, because I was fresh from the UK, right?
Yes.
They welcomed it, and so they put on this training session, and I was the trainer for them, and quite useful because they were able to move forward into a new method, right, of offering developing the food handlers permit on a education base rather than they used to take the blood tests, if you remember,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So that replaced it. But yes, so what we do is because we're international, my company, we class ourselves as an international company, right?
Yes.
Because we offer international certification. The training that we do, they're international curriculums.
Uh-huh.
The courses that we offer, they're international courses because they're courses that you can, when we give you a certificate, you can work anywhere in the world with them. They
That's
are
right.
recognized. It's a global certificate that we offer, right?
Okay.
From our partners over there. And that's at different level. That's for catering. They're sector specific. So
Uh-huh.
it's not one training that we offer to everybody. If you're in the catering industry, we offer catering in HACCP. We offer food safety and catering, different levels again. If you're at the production level, we offer it at that level different, and we offer a higher level at the supervisor, higher level at management. Right?
Yeah.
So it's all tiered. Um, so we started offering conferences. This is our 10th international conference. And what happens, is that I tend to look at what is happening globally, right?
Uh,
Jamaica cannot afford to send their production workers internationally to get training,
right.
get international training. They can't
Uh-huh.
do that. They can't afford it. It's not practical.
Uh-huh.
So I find that when we offer it at a local level, right, and we offer the international certificate, the international training, we get that we hold our customers like that, right? Because they want to aim for that standard, and a lot of them have got markets overseas. They're in the markets overseas, and
Okay.
they have to meet that because the domestic training does not suit them. So they rise above that. They do have it, but they rise above that and they go for their HACCP and they go for their advanced levels and their ISOs and so forth, right? Now
Uh-huh.
the conferences that we host, they're based on what's happening globally. We
Uh-huh.
try to bring that locally so
Uh-huh.
that persons here can take up on that learning. We bring in experts from different countries. This
Uh-huh.
year, for example, we've got persons as far as from Philippines, right?
Okay.
Because we want to make sure that we bring learning across the world into our island so people can
Yes.
realize, right, that food safety is a big thing and it's a very important thing and it can either break or make your business. Now, this year we're aiming for our bread baskets to be parishes to be broadened because
Uh-huh.
Melissa came and Melissa interrupted everything. We only had four anyway. We earmarked,
Uh-huh.
I don't know, for God's sake, why we earmarked four parishes as the breadbasket parishes. I have no clue.
I
Because it
know.
makes no sense. It makes no sense to me, right? Why on earth would you have 14 parishes and you take four of them and you say, okay, these are the bread baskets? So Melissa came and showed us that it's not possible.
You need a bigger basket.
We need a bigger basket. So our business this year is to put this conference on. We formed a group called Jamaica Food Sovereignty Network,
Uh-huh.
right? And we have up to 89 persons in that network, very passionate about food safety, food
Uh-huh.
security, and food sovereignty. Very passionate. Some of them are in the diaspora, some of them are in Guyana. We have persons here in Jamaica, obviously our own people, because we have some top experts in agriculture, right?
Uh-huh.
And the whole aim is that we're going to be working at community level to
Uh-huh.
teach our to take our farmers and also the youths to promote best practices in terms of the farm to the fork, right?
Uh-huh.
So at conference, we're going to launch that network on day one, right? Of conference, and to recognize formally this team that we
Uh-huh.
have that will be rolling out some programs after conference going forward, right?
Okay.
So we have over 20 speakers this year. We have workshops, we have seminars, we have demos, live demos, different
Uh-huh.
new technology in food safety, in food security. We have new technology like the hydroponics, and we have canning and bottling, different techniques of showing how we
Yes.
can preserve food, right?
Uh-huh.
Preserve our food, because one thing, is that when Melissa came, it taught the rural communities a lesson because
Ah,
they had
yes.
nothing. They had nothing, right?
Yes.
And it taught Jamaica also. It humbled us, Trevor. It
I
humbled us
know.
to our knees. I tell you, it was one of the most devastating things that ever happened to us in our history.
Yes.
Because we've never seen our people beg before. We've never seen them receive care
Yes.
packages before. This was horrible,
Yes.
right? Horrible, really horrible. But, part of it is that we have not, although we keep having these systems, right? We continue to do the things the same way. And it cannot
Yes.
be. It cannot
Yes.
be. How do you think that countries reach food secure, where they can feed their people? It's because they adopt different strategies, they use different methodologies, right?
Yes.
We're not in this thing alone, and therefore we have to learn. We have to learn from others who have reached, who have done the journey, right?
Uh,
Our aim is to be able to support the farmers, go into the community and work with them, make sure that they're applying best practices in terms of even the dosage of the fertilizers, the chemicals, because
yes.
sometimes they put a lot into the soil, and what they get out is not measuring up, right, to
Right.
standards. So when they hit the export market, you find that they have problems, right? So again, it's because we're not supporting. So we want to hold the farmers' hands, make sure that they're doing the right thing from the farm, make sure that they're not going to be getting their product rejected, make sure they understand the different change in the climate, because the
Uh,
climate have changed,
yes. Climate change
right?
has impacted our
It has
production.
impacted. It has impacted, right? And so we're aiming at 14 parishes. We want at least 3 or 4 farmers from each parish, right, for the conference. Um, and these persons can be youths or they can be farmers, right? But,
Yes.
because we're trying to, you notice the government is trying to get the curriculum impacted, right? And they're talking about, school farms and all those wonderful things, right?
Yes. Yes.
Our,
Yes.
our network want to work with that to make sure it's seamless, make sure it's not just gonna plant something and it dies, right? But we're going to be revisiting, making contacts, working at the community level, and so forth. That's what we want to do to make sure that Jamaica move forward
Yes.
across the 14 parishes, not 4 parish. Yeah,
Mhm.
not 4 parish, because every parish have soil and water and sunshine, right? Every single parish have those, even in the backyard
Yes.
of persons, right? Because you know that it's all about small farmers in Jamaica. We don't have no big farms in Jamaica apart from the parks them that the government is promoting,
Yeah.
right?
And the cane fields that we
And the
serve.
cane fields,
Uh,
right? Yeah, but the cane fields are becoming other usage because
I know.
our land policies are, it's sad, It's a very sad situation to see.
I know they turn a lot of arable land into hotel lands
Oh my
and
God.
golf courses.
Yeah.
We speak about that in our conversations, you know.
Mhm.
I One of my affiliates friends, Neil Curtis, a farmer up Jamaica.
Hmm.
He
Yes,
has a
I've heard of it.
program of
Hmm.
working with organic with
Right.
from an organic point of view,
Hmm.
reclaiming the land and things like that. And
Right.
of course, my friend Diane McIntyre Pike.
Okay, I
Uh,
know her very well.
I hope she's gonna have quite a few people at your training
I
session
hope so. I hope
because
so.
and
We
I
have.
say this because tourism is such an integral part
Hmm.
of
Yes.
our process, and
Yes.
it's important that we can project
Hmm.
an image that our food so preparation and processing is a number one.
That's right.
Okay, it is up to the highest world standard.
Mm.
Okay, because that is only gonna brand us,
That's
you know,
right.
and
Yes.
in a wider circle.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
but
Yes.
so how long does the program or the
Well,
conference is gonna last?
it's 2 days. It's over 2 days, Trevor.
Okay.
And it's we start at 9:30. After registration at 8:30. We start the program at 9,
Uh-huh.
9:30-ish, yeah. We do have the ministers. We have the Minister Floyd Green, and we
Uh-huh.
have the Honorable Minister Edward Bartlett on day 2, right? So you
Okay.
have hospitality, you have safety, and you
Uh-huh.
have security, you have food security, and we have sovereignty paper. We want to show and discuss and answer questions how we can move forward from food security to food sovereignty, where
Uh-huh.
Jamaica own its own food again. There was a time when we were food secure, you know. There was a time
Well,
I remember as a child in a food secure Jamaica, right? Where every children were able to eat properly. Nowadays you can't do that. People are
well,
going hungry.
well, we cannot forget that during World War II, it was the colonies, and Jamaica was the jewel of the British Empire,
Exactly.
and it was our produce and our bananas that
Mm-hmm,
England afloat.
mm-hmm,
Okay,
mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm,
mean that was the prelude to the migration of our people
mm-hmm.
after that.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah.
so so will the program be streamed?
Yes, it will. Live.
It will
Yes.
be streamed live.
Yes. Yes, it
Okay,
will.
good.
It will. It
Because
will.
this is something again that can be published and be accessed
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
even after
even after.
the
Yes.
training program is over.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Now,
Yes.
what does registration for the program involve?
Right. So we have our website, right?
Uh-huh.
Which is the website has everything to do with the conference in terms of
Uh-huh.
how they register, what the conference is about, the different type of speaker, what they are, their bio is
Yes.
there, their credential, you can see them, what they'll be speaking on, and
Uh-huh.
so forth. So everything is there for the program. The price, we have a ticket section where you can
Uh-huh.
book 1 day or 2 days. You can book whether you want it online or you're going to be in person, right?
Okay.
So it's all there. We have the farmer's price versus we have created. Even though we don't have much sponsor, Trevor, because the main people them who's supposed to be sponsoring the conference, um, how it is, not coming forward.
Okay. What date is the conference?
The 9th and 10th of September.
9th and 10th of September.
Yes,
September
yes,
10th and 9th. What time does
yes.
it start?
We start at 9:30 until 4:30. Yeah,
Okay, 9:30 until
yeah,
4:30. And where is it
yes.
being and where is it being held in Jamaica?
Right. So it's at Sandals Dunn's River Conference Center. So the conference
Okay.
center is on the property in Mammee Bay in St. Anne, right?
Uh-huh.
Yes. And this over 2 days, right? And our what we want is our farmers and our youth, our teachers, right?
Uh-huh.
Because we're trying to impact on the future generation, right?
Uh-huh.
And so forth. So plus our corporate customers, of course, right,
Uh-huh.
is going to be there. Yes.
Okay. Well, I am pleased to say that you have covered, I would say, most of, if not everything that has to do with the pre of the conference. The
Right.
post, of course, is something that we're going to look at after the conference is
Yes.
over. All
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
Because I think that what you're offering and presenting is vital.
Mm-hmm.
One, to the food security of the island and to the exporting of foods from the
Yes.
island.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
if that is not clearly understood, I hope that the Minister Floyd Green will come to the table aggressively
Thank
to
you.
let that be well known and also push the company, the
Yes. Yes.
government to invest in your vision of
Yes.
how we should be setting up ourselves.
Yes.
And Minister Bartlett, in light of the
Yes.
fact that tourism is such a vital, part of our economical expansion, that he also should be marketing
Right.
the program that you are
Mm-hmm.
you are putting in place to reassure
Right.
our
Mhm.
public
Yes.
that
Yes.
coming to Jamaica is not just that we have the best sand and the best reggae music and the best, no, we also have the best in food preparation.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes,
So
yes,
Miss Marva Hewitt,
yes.
thank you so much for spending the time
You're
updating our
welcome.
community.
Yes,
And
yes,
I'm looking forward to at least featuring some of our people who are ready and waiting for that
yes,
invitation from our
yes.
distributors abroad
Hmm.
to export products to them. Thank
Right.
you so much.
I just want to say about the website, Trevor.
Uh-huh.
The website is www.foodhygienebureau.org, and our contact number as well, which is
Uh-huh.
876-279-4265, right? So, it's all on the website, and any information you want, please get in touch. All
And
right?
your
And
email
email
address is
info at foodhygienebureau.org.
info at
Foodhygienebureau.org.
foodhygienebureau.org.
Org.
Well,
O-R-G.
okay, well,
Yes.
let me say thank you so much for
You're
spending the
welcome.
time with
Thank
our
you for
community.
having me. Yeah,
Thank
thank you for having me.